Ladies and gentlemen,
We're back.
we are back. Yes. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm well. Hopefully you all are well at home also. If this is your first time here, shame on you.
You're missing out.
You're missing out. But if it isn't, welcome back, Button Club members. This is another episode of the Safe Sets podcast with myself, Shadow Fury, and my co-host,
Ricky Icebeam.
What's new in the world of FGC for this week?
So this week we have a message to everyone who's listening, to all of the FGC. We say it from the bottom of our hearts. Go to your locals.
Yeah, big topic of discussion going on currently, not just on Twitter, but I would say amongst all the scenes, right?
Yeah. And I think it's a common thing that happens around this time of year.
Yes.
Right around Thanksgiving into Christmas. It's kind of like a lull in the FGC. A lot less people are going to tournaments. There's a lot less big tournaments happening. And so a lot of people are, people will travel to go see their family for holidays. And so there's many reasons and excuses for them not to go to their local.
Yeah. I think that's just some of that is obviously expected. For this time of year too, like my business slows down a lot.
Yep.
We've kind of been our book out date has been cut in half basically, and stuff like that. A lot of reschedules because people are very interested in having their work finished. And then the holidays, oh yeah, that's right. I knew it was in December, but this happened and this came up. So I think those things happen everywhere. And even this week at Button Club, it was kind of a lighter week, right?
Yeah, and we've been really fortunate at Button Club. We consistently have good numbers. And so when you say it was a light week, we're still talking double digits for every big game.
Even Guilty Gear and Retro, it was clear across the board, all double digits for every bracket, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, it's lower than what we're used to. We're used to 20 plus for Street Fighter and Tekken and games like that. But to be able to have a slow week and maintain 10 plus in each of the brackets, I mean, it says a lot about our scene and the people that come regularly and who come out as often as that they can make it. Because I know a lot of people don't make it every single week, and I don't keep tabs on everybody, but in my head I'm there are some people that show up 2 or 3 weeks a month, or some other people show up about once a month, but they're still pretty consistent.
You always love seeing it because you might not have thought about them for a bit, but then when they show back up, oh yeah, hey,
it's Paces, where have you been?
Yes, exactly. I was gonna say yeah, Paces and stuff.
Milk, I missed you.
Milk, hey,
Milk needs to show up.
Seriously, what did he said something the other day? I think it was even in Discord or whatever. We're yeah, well, if you just showed up to tournament.
Was that the commentary thing?
Yes, that's what it was. Yes, that's what it was. Yeah, how do I get in this commentary gig? Yeah, well, first thing is you got to show up. You got to get here.
I would love to see Milk on commentary at Button Club.
Oh, man. Well, although the night that we tried to stream ranked sets with him was an absolute shit show, a mess with problems and stuff like that. But sitting next to him and playing online with those games was hilarious. He was so much fun. We have to do that again, honestly. It was crazy. And I loved how he did not care at all. He was just yeah, watch this. Yeah, check this out. Let's see. Oh, and every time he said watch this,
something bad would happen.
Something bad would happen. It was awesome. So yeah, Milk, we need you back.
Yeah, I was telling my wife about how when we have people on commentary, especially for Street Fighter, it often helps that at least one of the commentators is knowledgeable in Street Fighter. And typically to be knowledgeable about the game, you have to play the game and be pretty good at the game. And so I really enjoy when Moon is on commentary.
Yes.
But it's tough because he's such a strong player. It's when you're doing commentary and playing in the bracket, it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's draining.
You cool off too, going into commentary mode and then back into tournament mode.
Yeah, that and if you're commentating and you're trying to do a good job, you're spending mental energy, and then you get to your set where it's a competition of who can apply their mental energy the most efficiently, and so you just spent some. But I will say it's nice when we have someone on Street Fighter commentary who's good at the game. And so if Milk comes around and he's able to do commentary, he's good at the game.
He'd be so entertaining
he'd be great at
too.
It.
Yeah, 100%. So back and forth in our safe sets chat. Is there one of these that you want to start with first?
Yeah, before we get too deep into the topic of going to your locals, there was one I posted. It had stats in our group chat.
Nope.
I didn't see anything.
All right, good.
So if you go to the Discord, I didn't see anything. My eyes are closed.
Damn it.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, but you did.
I saw something, but I didn't see what it was. I didn't look closely.
All right, hold on.
My eyes are still closed.
All right. You're the best. Okay, so...
I posted...
this right here, right?
So both of them, right? Yeah. So let's start with the rank distribution.
Okay. That's not it at all, right?
Oh, go back. It was this one here, just that image.
Oh, okay. So it's just an image. Okay, so
Yeah.
open in browser. All right, cool.
Switch the screen.
All right, guys.
So, Kat Cammy posts these on Twitter, and they're amazing. It's all kinds of stats, and they post it. You know, I pay attention to their posts probably like once a week or twice a week, where something will come up, and I just find it super interesting. And so this is the highest ranked character per player, and so it's really saying like, okay, like if I were to get 4 different characters to master rank, it's disregarding 3 of them. It's only talking about my character that has the most points.
Okay.
Or same thing, like if I had 1 character at diamond and 1 at platinum and 1 at gold, it's only counting my highest ranked character.
Okay.
So this is actually a good representation of how many players and where their skill level is at. And so it's interesting to see. I would, like, if you were to ask me how many % would be in each of these groups, I would have guessed so many more would have been between, like, rookie and gold.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would have guessed that, like, between rookie and gold would have added up to, like, 80%.
Yeah, it's kind of... I can't believe that platinum is the most stacked of all those.
Yeah, like...
By a lot.
So, like, not only is platinum... like all the 5 levels together, like 20%, it's the biggest group, but that platinum 1 is like huge. Mm-hmm. And so I think what is happening is players who get placed or start anywhere between rookie and gold are all like fighting and clawing their way up until they hit platinum 1 and then they stop playing ranked. That's what this graph tells me.
I think platinum... you know, if you're you don't play fighting games a lot, or maybe you're someone that just dabbles into other things, right? You would say gold being a little bit past the middle, right? So like gold, platinum, you would consider yourself like, I'm high rank, right? I'm high, you know.
Yeah, I'm good at this game.
Yeah.
And it's tough to say that too, because like it takes a certain amount of skill to go up in ranks, and so I'm trying to think of the right way to say this, like. If you were in the middle of this group, that doesn't mean you're the middle in skill. Like someone in bronze is gonna wipe the floor with someone in rookie. You know what I mean? Like a bronze player knows a combo, a rookie player doesn't know how to take a throw, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah. That's true.
And so even though you can look at the middle of the graph, I would say that the middle of the graph is still like high in skill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, and then even just the master rank. That's kind of an impressive number also. And that, you know, so this would be the one is...
So one is unranked. And so I think this is a byproduct of them resetting the ranks. And so if you were master rank before they did the reset, when they reset you, you're technically at 1500, but until you play a ranked game, it won't even tell you what your MR is. It will just tell you what your LP is.
Okay, I understand. I didn't know that.
So I think the group that's won are all the people who got master rank before it reset and then hasn't played ranked since, which kind of makes sense that I think a lot of players will, similar to how when they get to platinum or to diamond, they stop playing ranked. When they get to master, they beat the game, right? They don't grind any further. And I think realistically what happens is like, you barely claw your way out of diamond. You finally get to 1500. You play like 5 or 6 sets and you get washed game after game after game because master rank is just a different place than diamond. And so they go from 15 down to like 1400 and they're like, no more. I can't afford to lose any more points.
Yeah. Every point is just hurting that ego, right?
But the other thing I found really interesting about this graph is if you look at the very, very top of the master ranks, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I assume that the vast majority of players who go to Button Club are master rank, and most of them can maintain 1400 and up MR. And so I know that DiGiorno doesn't really play ranked, but if I were to guess where his skill level is at, it's probably like 1800 to 1900. I'm working my way up into the ranks because I hadn't played since they did the reset.
Yeah.
But before they reset, I'd gotten to 1800, and so that's where I kind of place myself, or where I would quote unquote belong.
Yeah.
But like the vast majority of players at Button Club, I would say are probably between like 14 and 1800. But then when you look at this graph, and you can kind of see that like to be that high in rank, we're like in the top 1% of all players. Like we're such a small niche group.
Yeah.
Of players.
And even the 1400, right? Like, or I'm sorry, the 1500 MR, you know, being like a healthy 2.6%.
So the 1500 is between 1 and 2. So 1500 is like 1.9%.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and then like the 1400 is like 2.5%.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, because the 4 is the 13 to 14. I understand. 14. Okay.
Yeah, so if any of the players at Button Club are from 1600 plus, that's basically the top 1%, because it's hard to see exactly what the numbers are. So like the 7, it tells you it's 0.2. The 8, 9, and 10 is like, you know, adds up to like 0.1. But the 6, it looks like it's at like 0.6, right? So from 1600 on is the top 1%.
It's insane.
It's just so wild. And also like, if you look at the bottom, it says there's 1.6 million unique accounts that's on this ranking. Wow. So again, with that many accounts, I would have assumed that there would have been way more people who bought the game, don't play fighting games, don't play Street Fighter in any competitive capacity, you know, went into the ranks, lost all 10 of their placement matches, right? Ended up in Rookie 1 and just never touched rank again. Like, oh my God, that was the worst experience. I don't know what I'm doing. So again, I'm really surprised that there's not more players between like Rookie and Bronze or even Silver. And I'm also not surprised to see that like the first level of each ranking, there's a spike, right? Because if you get from Rookie to Iron, and then you might never play again, or you might get from Iron to Bronze and then stop playing. And I also think like, let's say you get to Bronze 1 and you take a break, you might take like a month off or something, and then you get motivated and you grind. I feel like you don't stop grinding until you get to Silver 1, and then you take another break. But like you don't, I don't think that many people are going from like Bronze 1 to Bronze 3 and then calling it quits.
So obviously there wasn't information like this back in the Street Fighter 5 days, right?
Not that I'm aware of, and if there was, it wasn't this like beautifully presented and easy to understand.
Because I don't think that I don't believe that these numbers would look the same for that time period, even though the player base was probably a whole lot smaller then too. I feel like the gold and diamonds would be like, I feel like gold was a perfect sweet spot of you're starting to understand the game a little bit, and things are, but you still have miles and miles to go.
Yeah, it also makes me wonder if some of the like drive mechanics in Street Fighter 6 is helping players get to a higher rank than they would have gotten in Street Fighter 5. Like for example, and I'm just making this isn't necessarily true. But let's just say from gold rank down, you can't react to DI. So anytime you get your opponent in the corner, you just DI, they get wall splat every single time. And you don't even need to do an optimal combo. And right? Like you have such an advantage. And same thing, like assume they can't check a drive rush. And so at any time in neutral, you can just randomly drive rush. You hit them, that puts them in the corner. You DI, you get more damage, right? It's against people who have poor defense, it's easier to win in this game versus what it was in Street Fighter 5, I would argue. And so I'm wondering if that's making it easier to quote unquote steal wins and make it to like a Platinum 1 or a Diamond 1 or even a Master 1500.
It's exactly interesting that you say that, because right before you said it, that was like kind of what I was formulating in my head. Like it'd be easier to steal wins because it's easier for you to be wilder in this game, right? Or play wild, where in Street Fighter 5 it was punishing to play wild.
Yeah, and also in Street Fighter 5, like there was the stun mechanic, but you had to do all the things to your opponent to stun them. In this game, someone could like just be too wild with their OD meter spend, and then you just DI them once in the corner and they got wall split and dizzied.
Yeah. That's true.
Or same thing, like I know it's a habit that a lot of players have is when they're about to get burnt out, they'll essentially stop blocking because like I'd rather lose 99% of my health and not get burnt out than to get burnt out at 50% because it's basically checkmate. And so you see that too where like they're about to get burnt out and you get like 3 free combos in a row and you win the round anyways.
Yeah, there's been times where I'm like, oh, I made a mistake. But now I'm just going to lose this and I'm going to gain drive bar. So, okay, like I have started to kind of like use that with my mind to balance it.
Right, like if you're in the corner and you're getting throw looped, like, oh, I'm just gaining drive meter.
Yeah.
So eventually when they stop throwing me, I really hope I can drive rush out of here.
I'm thinking one of the times that you said just like they're going to get bored. I'm like, I'm gonna keep it boring. Like you're gonna hate throwing me after a while.
Yeah, you're gonna throw me 6 times, and the 7th time you're gonna go for a shimmy, and I'm mashing crouch medium.
Cool. So I mean I love these insights. This is so awesome. But I am pretty surprised for platinum.
Yeah, I'm surprised for platinum, and like I said, I'm surprised there's not more players like in rookie rank, especially. I would have guessed rookie rank by itself is like 20%.
So I guess what about this though? The fact that the game is obviously the most popular on launch. So a lot of these people might have just bought the game on launch, played a little bit. Now there's people that are just crushing their souls online because maybe they were a little more experienced in 5 or, they were bronze, silver then, so they can kind of wipe the floor with someone that doesn't have any type of muscle memory for a game like this.
Right.
And then that gets staggering to like, wow. Because, they give you the choice in the beginning before you start where you, how much...
They ask you, like, how much experience you have. And it's like, I've never played a fighting game. I used to play Street Fighter. I'm Daigo's cousin.
Yeah. And I bet there's some people that were out there that were like, oh, I'm not... Like, I want to body these fools. And they start at the bottom. And that could be, really just disappointing to those players. Because the fact that rookie is half of iron...
Yeah, and I never understood how that questionnaire thing worked. Like, I obviously picked, like, the most competitive option, and then it was, like, day 1 of Street Fighter 6 back when the highest you could place was Diamond 1, and I got placed Diamond 1. And then later on, I think it was when I started playing ranked with Luke for the first time. It was after they did an update where you could rank up to, or be placed up to Diamond 5, and I placed Diamond 5. So I have no idea what happens. Like, what if you pick the most competitive choice and then lose all 10-year matches? Does it still put you in rookie or does it put you in like silver?
Is it still accommodating? Like, well, you said you had skill, but this shows otherwise, so we'll meet in the middle. You start at gold.
Yeah, the other thing I wonder is maybe it's just trying to figure out who to place you against, because like if I say I'm the most competitive, then on my placement matches it might be placing me with like platinum and diamond players.
Yeah,
but if I say I've never played before, then it might be placing me with more like rookie and iron players. And so then it's still just a percentage of how much did you win. But yeah, I'm not going to figure it out. It's just kind of a curious question. Like, what happens if you say you're not competitive and then win all 10-year matches? Is there like can it only place you as high as like silver because you chose the easier
But even
choice?
then, you just throw your placement matches also, and then grind from rookie all the way up. And then there's the win streak bonus, right?
Is there? I don't know.
I think there's a win streak bonus till platinum. I think Talent was complaining about it recently. So yeah, I mean, you could get a crazy win bonus trying to say, look, I started at the bottom, but I had this crazy win streak all the way up.
But that's interesting that you point that out. I didn't know about the win streak bonus. If the win streak bonus stops at platinum, that would also explain why there's so many at platinum, because they might like win 3 games and then lose 1 and just keep doing that until they get to platinum because they're getting boosted.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I don't know when that changed or if that was always the case, but I remember Tom bringing it up recently.
Yeah, so recently I've been playing ranked again, and I'm feeling motivated. I'm gonna see how high I can get in the ranking.
Oh yeah.
And so I kind of have like 2 goals. Like one goal is to hit 2,000 MR. That's like a good benchmark, especially for American players, to be like, yeah, I'm in the top group. I'm one of the best.
And we're fortunate enough in our region that is something that we can do. The amount of players, where we're at, and stuff like that. Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know, if your region is small or isn't as competitive, it's much harder to get to 2,000 MR. So like a 2,000 MR in America might be like the equivalent of 1,700 MR in a much smaller country that has worse internet or just not as many competitive players.
Mm-hmm.
And then the opposite's also true. Japan is the most stacked, most competitive region, and because their country's so small, they all can connect to each other. And so in Japan, like 2,000 MR in America is like 2,200 in Japan. It's relatively easier to get 2,000 MR in Japan.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
And so I'm trying to get like 2,000 MR in America, and I'm also trying to get to the legend rank status, which the legend rank isn't tied to a specific number of MR. It's just the top 500 players in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And what ends up happening is because Japan's MR is inflated, they have much more legend rank players.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then I think America is like second or third. I think because I think it was like Japan and then like unspecified country, which might mean they just didn't choose a country. And then America is right after that. So I'm assuming it really means Japan's number one, America's number two, as far as how many legend ranked players they have.
Interesting. What was the point I was going to make with the legend rank there? Oh, yeah. Mentioning the location that we're in, I follow Dead Ace on his streams, and he's from Panama. And he finds it impossible to he could so hit the 2,000. I feel like,
he's strong enough for sure.
But he just doesn't hit the he just can't hit it because his region does not have that amount of players. And even if he could, maybe get that amount of points, it's with someone with terrible internet. They have a hard time with that out there. So
right at that point, it's like a useless grind. Like he's just grinding Wi-Fi players. And same thing. I'm sure if his region is that small that he's running to the same people and ranked all the time, I'm sure they see his name and one and done him because like I don't want you to take all my points.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Dead Ace, I know that name. I'm out of here. Is there anything else you want to cover on this chart?
On this chart, no, but I think there was one other chart. That one. So this is the one I was alluding to. So
what is going on? Sorry about that.
Yeah, if the stream's messing up, we apologize. We're having some strange connect/disconnect issues with the USB plugs.
Just tonight.
Yeah, it's a ghost. But I was talking about a chart, and this is the chart that I was talking about. And so the most important ones are like probably like the top 5 or 6 here, right? So this is the number of, so actually it's the number of master rank players by country. But it's also essentially the same as how many legend rank players that you have.
Yeah.
And so Japan has the most master players with 58,000. They have the most 1,700 plus MR with 2,900, and they have the most legend rank players with 267, which is more than 50% of the entire world.
That is amazing.
And so it's a combination of, I was saying, they have so many players who are playing constantly online, and their country is so small. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure the size of Japan is roughly the size of New England. And so that would be like if New England was its own country and we had great internet with each other. And we just
had that many legend ranked and had that much of a population. That's so insane.
Well, I think that if New England was its own country and only had internet connected to each other, we would have more legend ranked players than we have. Even though our population's smaller, it's like I'm trying to think. It's like it's deeper. Like there's more to do. And then that's part of the issue in America is like if I'm playing ranked, I'm not playing with anyone from the West Coast.
Yeah.
And so it'd be like if you were to take all the best players from the West Coast, the mid section, and the East Coast, and then bring them all together, and that's basically what Japan is.
And just condense into one area, yeah. And then let's look at this character usage because right away the numbers are kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I mean this is ultimately a popularity list because I'm pretty sure this is showing the characters for master rank, and it's I'm gonna get. There's no nice way to say this. It's relatively easy to hit master rank in Street Fighter 6. Obviously, that's not true for everyone. Obviously, it's not easy, and it should be celebrated when you hit it. But what I was meant to say was, if this was the character usage ranking for legend rank only, then I would be like, oh, this might be close to a tier list.
Yeah.
But because it's not that hard to hit master rank, and you could hit master rank with your favorite character if you really tried, I would say this is not like a tier list. This is a popularity list.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Like you look, Shotos are at the top of this list.
Yeah.
And for some reason, China loves Jamie.
Yeah, China holding it down. Even Brazil. Look at where Brazil's at.
Nice.
You know, I was gonna say I'll keep the point light, but as a segue to what I've been watching with Street Fighter League, seeing these players from where they're from and going, wow, I've never heard of them, or I haven't seen them in a while. Recently, Garnett is the first Italian Street Fighter League player.
Nice.
And he did so good. He had like a great day the other day. It's like so nice to see.
It's interesting. Can we scroll down to Italy? Do they have one legend rank? Is it him? There's two.
Oh my god, he's a Dawson player.
I'm assuming he's legend rank.
Yeah, I would imagine so. That's crazy.
Right, but if the characters were only for legend, it would be 50% Dawson.
Yeah.
For that country.
Jeez.
Yeah, so looking at kind of the top of the list for all the countries, you see Ken everywhere.
Yeah.
Ken is very popular. You see Shotos in general, so you see Ryu, Ken, and Akuma, and then I see a lot of Zangief toward the top of the usage list.
Yeah. Zangief, obviously Bison, Cammy, Terry too. I'm surprised, look at Terry's fourth played here in Mexico.
Yeah, it makes sense. He's essentially a Shoto, right? And he's more similar to a Shoto. And because like Luke's also a Shoto in my mind, but Luke has the perfect knuckle system, which a lot of people don't want to learn. And so if you want to just play a Shoto that doesn't have a perfect knuckle timing system, then it's like, okay, I can pick Ryu, Ken, Akuma, Terry, right?
Mm-hmm. And after I said it too, it made sense because Mexico loves SMK games, and like that's their boy right there. So that just makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, let me go.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get that ticked up to 41.
Yeah, let them know.
But it is interesting, right? Like, and I'm sure this is as of November, so I'm sure if they were to check it later in the season, like before as the points have been out for longer and longer,
like before a reset to kind of see where it
like a few weeks before a reset, I'm sure United States would go higher and higher. But it is interesting to see, like, if I were to have already hit legend rank, that would make me in like the top 50 as far as what online rank believes is your skill level.
So weird they're not specified.
I'm assuming, and I haven't really checked into this, but when I saw that, I was like, I wonder if it's when you're making your account for Street Fighter 6, you can choose a country. Because, like, why? Like,
or VPN stuff, maybe?
Maybe. No? I guess it's possible.
It's just it's so crazy. It's such a big percentage, and I'd imagine part of this 10% here gets distributed all throughout here a little bit. So
yeah, I'm not sure how they figured that out because, like the other thing too is I remember in Street Fighter V you could pick your flag, and it didn't matter where you were from. You could pick any flag you wanted, but most people trusted that whatever flag you chose was most likely where you were from. But I think you could also not choose a flag, and it would just say like Street Fighter V.
And that's what I have for mine on 6. It's just the 6. It's a black flag with the white 6.
So I'm wondering if that's what that is.
So if am I not specified?
You might be one of the 10,000 master players who are not specified.
I might have to change that then. I got to represent.
I mean, I don't know this, but I'm because obviously the CFN knows where you are.
Yeah.
Like maybe if you're using a VPN, but then I think they would just assume you're wherever your VPN said you were. Yeah. So to be not specified, I wonder if that's just players who didn't choose their flag.
Now that you mention it, after you said that, of course I saw a Ken at the beginning. I was like, but where's Guile? And Guile's like below the halfway mark now.
Yeah, I think Guile is harder to play in this game. And I also think he's not doing crouch medium kick into drive rush. And I think crouch medium kick into drive rush characters are way more popular.
It's like having a 3-frame or a 4-frame in 5, right?
Yeah, having an uppercut or a command grab in 5. It's like if you have those things, you're better. And I also found interesting, I was also found it interesting or surprising that Guile's usage was so low. But then I also found that Ed's usage was much higher than I expected. And I think it's Guile players switching to Ed.
Because kind of the same keep away, but more mobility.
Yeah, more annoying and easier to play.
Decent zoning. I find him so annoying to play as, though. I find him so overwhelming, and the dash cancel stuff, having to do it earlier in the animation or later in the animation. I tried it again recently, and it was a little easier lately, but still, like, to have to do that in a high pressure situation, that was not for me. But that does make sense now that you mention it. Even with Street Fighter League, I've been watching Europe lately because there's 2 or 3 Guile mains on there. Rain Pro, I'm Still the Daddy, and Akainu.
Yep.
And then you go to watch Street Fighter League America, and you have Knuckle Doo,
Yep.
but Knuckle Doo's mostly playing Cammy.
Yeah.
And he'll save the Guile for a certain matchup or a certain whatever. So there's just not a lot of stuff to watch to gain on that character, which I think also kills its popularity.
Yeah. If Knuckle Doo is playing like almost all Guile and only switching to Cammy for like 1 or 2 bad matchups, then that would be fine. But I even saw, I think it was Casa or some other tournament, TNS. I think
Tampa Never Sleeps.
I think he won TNS with DJ.
Oh yeah, there was a part of one of the episodes I watched of League where he switched to DJ.
Yeah,
DJ has that same, he can zone and then that rush down, that craziness, great buttons,
and the fact that his flash kick doesn't whiff the way Giles does.
Yeah,
I think Giles is still a really strong character. I just think he has more bad matchups than some of these other characters, and I think he's harder to play. But I think if you are like one of the best Guile players, like if you're Knuckle Doo or if you're Kaba, then you can do it. It's just you want to very, very carefully select which matchups you want to fight.
It seems like to be a lot harder. I think it's like as a character archetype, it's maybe easier to learn. Some people just straight up are like charge characters. No thanks.
Yeah, they don't even try it. Exactly.
Yeah. So that could be a wall too. I think Guile needs a little bit of tweaking. Obviously, like he'll place well in a tier list right now, and I'm pretty sure we've placed him more or less upper mid tier. But yeah, there's a couple little things that I think he needs tweaking to kind of like bring him up. I was watching a replay recently of Higuchi, and me and my brother were watching it together to try and take some notes. And I saw him flash kick from a deceptively far range. Do you know anything about this?
No.
Oh, okay. So I saw it, and I had to slow it down. I watched it twice and then went and did it. Because of the input system, I would imagine, in Street Fighter 6, how it holds on to charges so much longer, I actually watched him go from crouch, walk forward for whatever, a frame or two, and then hit up, and then be able to hit that flash kick.
Oh.
So he gained, it was almost like a Kara, like he gained so
kick.
much more momentum and caught him with it. And I was like, oh, that is so cool. And I do not see, maybe I can't imagine I've seen that before and didn't notice it, but it is possible. But in that moment, I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. So you don't see a lot of that. You don't see a lot of tech. There's not a lot of videos to see on him. When Daigo was maining Guile, was there a lot of Guile tech everywhere? Everywhere. Yeah. So stuff like that will also kill a character.
I would watch Daigo play Guile, and then my Guile got improved just from watching.
Yeah. So there's not the same. And then again, you go and watch someone else. Even I'm Still the Daddy. He'll switch to M. Bison.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then speaking of like not having people to watch, I don't have many Luke players to watch.
Yeah, because Mena doesn't really play the character as much anymore. You have Noah, and do you watch Noah the Prodigy's play?
I don't, but I know how he plays, and I'm like, I should probably not watch this so I don't learn any of these terrible habits.
Hold on. All right, so I would say when I watch Noah the Prodigy play, I see a portion of you in there for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely see that, like, deal with this, basically.
Yeah.
The only thing that he does differently is his meter consumption.
Yeah, he just spends
He does not care. It's part of the game. He doesn't care. So, but otherwise, yeah.
And in a way, he's not wrong. Like, it's so, like, when you are burnt out in the corner, like, you want your opponent to DI you immediately so that it makes it the least bad. And so same thing with burnout. Like if I'm going to get burnt out and then splat in the corner, I'd rather have it happen as soon into the round as possible, so then you survive it and then you can continue the round. So there is some logic there. Whether or not I agree with it, I don't know. I haven't tested spending meter like an animal. Yeah,
because that was kind of, if that was the thing to do, it was very early on, because even in the betas, that's how I played. I was like, I'm ripping this meter. I don't care. I want that life lead, and then let's see you try and figure it out,
Yeah, and I think we pretty quickly realized, like, through playing the beta and stuff, that once you're in burnout, you're basically dead.
It really hurts, yeah.
And so I think now the idea is, like, if you can avoid getting burnt out, like basically only burn out when you burn yourself out, and that's because your combo is going to kill. But I guess when you're doing that, you are fighting with one hand tied behind your back because you're refusing to spend your meter. And I also find that, like, obviously if you're burnt out and you have like 1 or 2 super bars, like, oh, this is fine, because if they DI a level 1, and then they probably have time to try it one more time, and if I level 1 again, I'm out of burnout.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe if you have level 2 and you're very confident in reacting with level 1, that it's not such a bad thing to burn yourself out. Because also, once you're burnt out, you almost are like controlling your opponent. We're like baiting the carrot in front of them.
Come and get me.
Exactly, come get it.
You're never gonna get this. And sometimes, like, there's that moment too. I have to be like, no, like, you're chasing. Stop. Leave it alone. Like, let it happen. Figure it out. Zone and.
Yeah, like you'll walk into like fireballs or like you jump in the uppercut. Like, what am I doing? Just because they're burnt out doesn't mean I have to play.
I'm forcing the situation, but again, that comes with like I think initial, an initial mentality going into a game, and how that muscle memory, that stuff just sticks with you. Where you're like, oh, they're burnt out, mouth watering, like kill them, get them. I'm gonna mutilate them, and now you realize no, like, and same thing with the drive impact right away. The more time builds up, the more you go, no, like use that burnout phase and. The game is still beautifully evolving, which I love to see, and I can't wait to also, what's going to happen in the future, Season 3, characters, updates, and stuff.
Yeah, I was actually saying I hope that they change the way Drive Rush works. I think it's fine to Drive Rush and press a normal. I don't think we should be able to Drive Rush into special moves. And particularly, we should not be able to Drive Rush into Sway.
So I don't ever drive rush into special move unless I'm catching a far away jump, and I think that's drive rush DP, and that feels godlike because you've just controlled so much of the screen that felt safe for them. I was doing it to Hanny one night after the ran ban. He's like, "All right, I'll stop. I promise, I'll stop." So it was just good. I love that feeling. But otherwise, yeah, like drive rush into Dragon Lash or
drive rush into like an armor special move like Marisa has. Or even, I mean, drive rush into command grab. Like, I feel like Zangief would be much more manageable if you understood, like, when he drive rushes, he's more than likely going to go for a regular throw or a normal before he tries to mix you up with an SPD.
That's so interesting because then when you put it like that, you think, I need to drive rush cancel a normal in order to get that, so I should only be able to get a normal after a regular drive rush and not anything else. Because if I could drive rush cancel a special move like I would, then those combos would look very different.
Yeah, and also I just think that there's a lot of characters that don't really benefit from being able to drive rush into a special move, and other characters that benefit a lot from that. And so it kind of levels the playing field a bit.
That would be interesting. I wonder what that would do for balance without, saying, well, now raw drive rush costs a bar and a half or whatever because you want to slow things down. Or because I think the pace of the game, it's crazy when you're playing it, but as a spectator, it is exciting.
Yeah.
It's hard to go back to watch something else sometimes.
Yeah, I just think of like M-Bice's doing like drive rush into scissors.
Drive rush into scissors, yeah. Yeah, but if one goes, it all has to go, right? So you don't drive rush any of your special moves?
I mean, besides, the situation's very rare, but besides like drive rush into uppercut as an anti-air, which rarely ever happens for me, I have no reason to drive rush into any of my knuckles or fireballs.
What about the shoulder? Like, is there a setup where you would drive rush and then do that?
No, because the startup of the shoulder tackle is so slow already. I can't imagine I could ever find myself plus enough to drive rush and shoulder tackle.
You're like, oh, I'm plus 400 frames here. His defense in Burnout is extremely underrated. I think he's talking about Noah. And then drive rush needs to always be punish counterable.
I agree with that.
If you manage to check it, why is it not a punish counter? That. Yeah.
Yeah, and if they don't make it punish counter, I think they should just make it so you have a hurt box in front of you the entire time you're drive rushing.
Huh.
You know what I mean? Like
an extended hurt box in front of you?
Yeah, while you're running.
Oh my god. Because then you would really pace that out differently.
Yeah, because I feel like if you knock someone down and then you drive rush to get a meaty that's plus on block, like that's kind of what you're supposed to do. But like, there's nothing more frustrating when you're fighting against a jury and they drive rush and you're like, okay, I'm gonna press this button. If they press stand medium kick, I lose, and if they press jab, I win. And I have no idea which button they're gonna press.
Yeah, checking that is, and I swear, it's a year and a half of this game, and it'll still amaze me how far that extra momentum that button will carry them with that drive rush. Good lord.
Yeah, so I just feel like you should have a hurt box in front of you while you're drive rushing so that regardless of what button they choose, as long as the button you chose reached in time, you should basically have priority over the person drive rushing.
And then there was, oh no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because like I said, I feel like you should be more deliberate with the drive rushes and like knocking someone down. And like, even for Zangief, right? Like if Zangief knocks you down and then just drive rushes in and then he makes you, guess rock, paper, scissor with button throw and command grab, like that's what it's supposed to be. But if Zangief just drive rushes in neutral and goes right into stand heavy punch, it's like, I should have been able to hit you before the stand heavy punch came out.
Because you're taking a risk, but you are spending meter for it.
Right, but I think the reward is so great.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like not only am I +4 more on block, I'm +4 more on hit. And if you are, like, if you have bad reactions and you don't try to check it, you're actually safer a lot of the times. And if you have good reactions and try to check it and choose the wrong normal or they chose the right normal.
Bro, well, nothing's changing. I'm not moving anything.
Right? It almost becomes like rock, paper, scissor in neutral.
Yeah. Which neutral already has, let alone now like the, hey, catch this,
Right. Like,
hey, think fast, guess.
Like, it didn't take me long in Street Fighter 6 to realize that, like, oh, if my opponent drive rushes, I should not respond with DI. It's like, okay, my opponent drive rushes, I should not respond with parry, right? No, there's a few good options. The best option is to check it, but depending on what button they choose, sometimes your check will fail, and that's frustrating. Unless you're Cammy and press crouch medium punch, when it works every single time.
Hold on a second. We got DiGiorno. Drive Rush Fireball is interesting, but I could do without it if it meant Geef could do Drive Rush SPD. Oh, wow. Just take Zangief out the game. Wow.
I think Zangief's fine. I mean, he's really strong right now, but I actually, and maybe I'm biased because I think Luke has a good matchup into Zangief. I think any character that has like a motion uppercut is decent against Zangief because you can stop him from jumping in and just play the ground game. I think that's one of those matchups I would not want to play with Guile.
See, I don't usually mind it against Guile because it's just when I need that flash kick, it's just so ready. And I'm trying to move a whole lot around a Zangief anyway, but
yeah, and I think that could also be part of my problem with Guile. Like, I'm very mobile with Guile. Like, I don't want to just hold down back. And so a lot of times I don't have a flash kick charged. And the way Guile's anti-airs work in this game, it's like if they're jumping in and trading with you, it's not a good time.
Well, even recently watching more people, I'm realizing how mobile they make their Guile appear also. But I don't think I'm ready for that yet. I don't think I'm there yet. I think I need like more of a grounded stationary game, and I can work towards getting that comfortability. Because even this week with playing more Guile, crouching heavy punch anti-air is good in theory, but
it trades a lot.
Yeah, it trades more often than I would like it to, for sure. All right, so since we have DJ in the chat, are you all set with this?
Yeah.
Cool. Since we have DJ in the chat and Ricky has been so kind to not have seen what could have been spoiled a half a dozen times. So I was telling a story, this is months ago at Button Club, about a place that was known as DP Dough with their $5 calzones. And we always talk about how amazing everyone's uppercuts or DPs are at Button Club, and I got inspired with DJ. So I drew up a art piece, and Alicia did the finishing touches. So I want you guys to check this out. Tell us what you think of it, and if you'd be interested in the t-shirt or sticker design.
Oh, that is so cool. Can we blow that up?
Yeah, hell yeah.
DJ's DP Dough.
Yep.
Drive Rush fresh in 30 frames or less.
And then the phone number is it's DP Super.
Okay.
And it's a little pixelated right now. I don't know why it's like this on my end. Maybe because it's blown up, but it looks clear for you guys. Just started with Ken's fist here, and then added the pizza, and then the next layer was the cheese and the sauce, and just kind of all came together. Alicia edited some of the colors on the pizza to have that darker orange, and it looked like that greasy pizza instead. So when I sent this to him, he was absolutely floored. And I just think it'd be really cool to have probably stickers, but I think t-shirts would be sick of this,
cool, yeah.
So if you guys are interested in one of these, let us know what you would be more inclined to. Do we do like a pre-order for this, Or do we buy in bulk and see what goes? Because, you buy in bulk and people are more likely to buy because it's right there in front of them rather than having to place an order. And when am I going to get my stuff? When am I going to get my TC shirt? Or, it's right in front of me. I'll buy it and this and that. So we didn't really know what was the best way to go about selling these. So if you guys have a point of view on that, we would also love to hear it.
Is there any risk that that's a real phone number?
So that was Alicia's first thing, and I can't imagine that it is. And even if it is, they're about to be entertained by the fighting game community. And someone might even have that. Imagine if someone was like, hello, like, Shoryukens. You jump them, we stop them.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So that's the DJ. That's the new DJ logo. Maybe we can make him some stick art with that.
That's so cool.
All right, what's next, my friend?
Oh, yeah, so let's go back to the Discord. I think we had posted some things about some different locals, one of them being NLBC.
Okay, is that this one right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So at the start of this episode, we were saying that the theme of this episode is go to your locals. And this is one of the posts that we saw that kind of triggered that thought. And it's NLBC's recent weekly for Street Fighter 6. Has top-level players like IDOM attending and only has 11 entrants, which is such a small number for such a long-lasting and prestigious local tournament like NLBC. It says right here, this is the 357th tournament, which means it's been going nonstop for, 7 years?
Yikes.
Right? If they do roughly 50 a year?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't notice that. I don't know what's more staggering, the low entrance or the how many of these tournaments that these people have run. That's absolutely amazing. Even Strive, GG Strive has 14 more entrants,
which is amazing.
Wow. So, 11 is low. I think we matched that, at Button Club this week also.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're in the New York area or you're willing to drive that far, go to NLBC. Meet IDOM.
Yeah. I mean, Master Mike's still. No joke.
Master Mike's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, IDOM won both games.
Kosher Salt.
Who's that?
He's from the Boston area.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, we're traveling.
We're representing. Yeah, 100%. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I mean, that's also that game got higher than Street Fighter, but I mean, yeah, that's.
I don't think that's saying something good about Strive. I think it's saying something negative about Street Fighter.
Well, but like Strive, if you think Street Fighter is a wild game, and I know some of us do, Guilty Gear is. There's no brakes on this thing. There's nothing but a steep incline hill, and we're partying the whole way down. What does this say? I would buy that if I... has NLBC done anything to show they are still a thing? Only because I haven't seen any streams from what... Oh, okay. So they haven't even been doing a whole lot, putting themselves out there, really? Well, because that was all Arturo's thing, was it not?
Well,
and Spooky?
I think it was Spooky first, and then I think Arturo took over and tried to continue with it. So I don't know if they're not streaming it, because I honestly haven't been paying close attention. So I don't know if they're not streaming it or if they're streaming it with no commentary, and so people aren't watching. I'm not sure, but for a local to be successful, I would say the stream is probably the most important thing. And I kind of said this for years at my old local at Havenshine. For the longest time, we didn't have a stream. And I would kind of say, if we didn't stream it, it didn't happen. No one cares about seeing the results the next day if they can't watch the matches. And so I think for a local, the stream is the number one most important thing. And then if you can, having live commentary, even if it's just one person, just keeping the people who are watching company. Commentary is huge.
It's huge. Otherwise, it's just not the same. It's like watching wrestling. You need the commentators.
Yeah.
So yeah, NLBC slowing down. Look here's some of the comments if you guys want to check this out. What's NY doing, son? Wow, there's not even a lot of engagement on here for. I mean, there's a lot of reshares and a decent amount of likes, but there's not a lot of comments going on here at all.
Yeah, only 4 comments.
Yeah. IDOM. I mean, wasn't it IDOM was that one of the things that I sent over?
I think it was.
Let me see. Oh yeah, they don't get to see this yet anyway.
Good. This is all private, secret.
Yeah. Stuff. Oh yeah, we can talk about that too if you want. Where was
the Damascus thing?
It must be. I must be just getting it confused. We can just jump right into that then.
Yeah, because I think this was a no. It was an offshoot of what was said about NLBC not having as many entrants as of late.
Oh yeah, and this is based off the Taiga thing right here, right? Taiga, yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead, you can read that if you want.
Yeah, so Damascus says, this is spot on. My biggest experience with SF6 locals is it's the same people as Street Fighter 4, so older people with more responsibilities and less time. He said, in my opinion, we failed at gathering younger players. That's what we're super missing and part of what I'm working on. And I kind of agree. Like, it's a combination of younger players who are actually young in age, right? Like high school age. We're not really getting them. And then also new players who might necessarily not be so young, right? Like there might be someone in their 20s or 30s or older, right? 40s and up, right?
Yeah.
FGC has all kinds who are newer to the game and either doesn't know that their local exists or they know about it and they're scared to show up.
Yeah, they're intimidated.
And I always kind of use the gym analogy. Like people will often say like, oh, like I need to get in better shape before I can go to the gym. It's like, no, you go to the gym and that's where you get in shape.
Yes.
So you go to your local, you get your butt kicked, you go 0-2, and that motivates you to practice. And you do it week after week after week. And eventually you go 1-2 and then 2-2. And, you know, your journey continues.
It's a tough thing. And I don't think anyone's really prepared for those things when they get into that. There's no, like, warning book about, so, looking to get into a fighting game, kid? Well, sit down. It's like, here's what you're in for, you know?
Yeah, but I can honestly say I would not be where I am today in the FGC if it wasn't for the local tournaments that I could go to. Before I really got into fighting games like competitively, I was a fan of fighting games and I wanted to be competitive. But I didn't have local tournaments or I weren't aware that they were there. And so like every year I would like watch EVO and then 2 weeks after EVO, I'd practice every day for like 2 hours and then have like no friends to play with and no local tournament to go to. So after a couple of weeks after EVO, the passion is gone.
Yeah.
And I'm playing other games and RPGs and my skill in fighting games is not improving. So it wasn't until I found a local tournament that I could go to weekly, and fight the same people week after week and kind of gauge my skill against theirs. And also realizing that if the people that are at your locals are motivated and they're practicing every week, it's like, well, not only am I comparing me to you, but now we're both moving targets.
And that's what you want.
Yeah, that's what you want. And I was going to say, I also found, especially back at like the beginning of Street Fighter V, that there were players that would go to the tournaments every week, but not necessarily practice. And so there were times where they would beat me consistently, and then we had close matches, and then I got to the point where I was beating them consistently. And that's when I realized, like, oh, they're just kind of showing up and doing the same thing every week, where I'm motivated to level up and doing my homework and coming back stronger every week.
And both are fine too.
Yeah, they're both fine, but it is what you want is to be practicing and improving yourself, and you want people who you're competing against who are also practicing and improving. Because if, let's say you go to your weekly every week and you're going 0-2 and nobody's practicing but you, eventually you're winning your weekly every week and then you're not learning as effectively.
Yep. Nothing wrong with just showing up and having a good time and just being amongst friends and just throwing your hat in the ring and because not everyone has that. They don't want to put that time in too. And then the rest of us who are losing our minds are trying to be as good as we can, right?
Right, and then a lot of times it's like they did put in a good amount of work years ago, right? And then it's like, okay, they've been playing fighting games for a couple of years. They're not as motivated to be number one. But they enjoy seeing their friends like competing, and they can just kind of enter a tournament without practicing and like come in third place, and they're super happy with that. Like they have no problem with coming in third, and like no real drive to like go home and practice to try to get second or first the following week, which is fine. Like I'd rather have that person there than not there.
Yeah, I mean, you get to enter, you decide your own level of engagement in anything that you do and anywhere you go. So
Isn't that like a Fight Club quote?
I feel like that
you
is,
choose your
right?
own level
Yeah,
of
yeah. I
involvement.
felt like that was not really from my brain, but from memory. But yeah, that's true. It's like anything else, even like getting into tattooing. It was the people that went home and that were drawing all the time, that were watching other people on YouTube and trying to get these techniques and, buying these DVDs. Like, those are the people that were progressing. And I wanted that amongst me and my fellow artists too. Like, well, if I get better at this, you'll get better. And then, your clients will want this from me, and back and forth. And, it all helps the same. So it's the same thing with the fighting game. The more strong players you have, some people aren't good at teaching.
Right.
Some people are really friendly but come off as intimidating figures. So it's hard for them to help someone out. But there should always be, someone around that can help. Right. Let's catch up with chat. Boy, I feel like we missed a lot. Arturo was okay. MR. I'm sorry. Can you read those, buddy? Those are a little closer to you.
They're real small. MB, I missed the art chat because I was grabbing food. Oh, my bad. But yeah, NLBC having 11 people is crazy sad. Spooking was holding up NLBC. With him gone and nobody to replace his energy, it was a matter of time. Yeah, so someone needs to go to NLBC, like someone who's part of the community, who really cares, and stream it and commentate. We need Spooky too.
Because I bet that also affects that business. Obviously, Henry has, he's been there for God knows how long, but that's part of his income amongst everything else that he does there.
Right, and obviously it's good for the scene for IDOM to be there. And I know that he enjoys going to his local and he wants it to be competitive and all those things. But being realistic, if week after week after week they're getting 8 to 10 players or 12 players,
when does he stop showing up? Exactly.
When does he realize or accept the fact that he's not helping the scene grow? He's just wasting his time, right? So having someone like IDOM going to your New York local, take advantage of that. Go to your local.
It's New York.
Yeah, I don't know.
The spot that they are in and, are known for from, Chinatown Fair and all that.
Yeah, I imagine there's hundreds of master rank players in the New York area who every week while NLBSC is happening are staying home and grinding ranked instead.
Yeah.
And that's a real shame.
Or doing Casa online or something. There's so many online tournaments, Even my brother did the TC online last week and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those. And those are all good to have because they do fill in a spot. But I think you as the player also need to dictate your energy level for which ones you're going to be a part of and trying to mix that up. Even talking with Hanny most recently, he's like, I'm not young anymore. I can't go to every single weekly from this area to that area. I have to really pick and choose my battles and show up to one every once in a while.
Yeah, and I also think the most important thing about local tournaments, if you're comparing it to online tournaments or grinding ranked, is the fact that you will make friends. And you will make friends who have the same interest as you, we're enjoying the same fighting game, so there's probably other things that we enjoy, like other video games or other things. But then the other important thing is making friends in the FGC that are close to your skill level. That's so powerful to be able to practice with these people and ask questions and grind and, like I said, compare yourself to them week after week. And if there's at Button Club, there's a big group of players who aren't always making it to the top 3, but they're 4th place through 8th place every single time, right? Moon and Karate Kevin and yourself and Tomato. There's so many of them that every week you're not sure all right, who's gonna get the highest placing, who's gonna come in 2nd or 3rd place this week. And so to be able to have a group of players that are close to the same skill level and then battle it out week after week and improve together, right? You all get better together. Right.
And not only that, too, I will say this before we continue with the chat. I will say this. When your opponent is faceless and just another person on the other side of it, it is so much easier to discredit them or their skill or just be foul. And hopefully when you're next to that person, you're very, very different. You get to see, wow, this person drove here in their car and this is what they're wearing and they like that soda too. And when you break that this is my opponent wall, and you're like, this is just another human sitting next to me. What you can do with that afterwards is so much more valuable.
Yeah, the other thing too at a local, like let's say you go to your round one and there's a new player there that you've never seen before, and so they're not seeded, and it turns out that they're really good and they beat you 2-0 in your round one and you're salty. If you ran into someone like that in ranked, you just probably like throw your controller, right? Like you just, this is bullshit.
100%.
But if you're at your local and you've never met this person before and they beat you the same way that they would have beaten you online, but then they proceed to beat all your friends and they beat, the player that is normally winning your weekly, and they win the whole thing without dropping a game, all of a sudden like, oh, I'm way less mad that I lost 0-2 to them round one because they're clearly way better than everyone here. So you kind of get that context. But when you run into someone in ranked and you lose real quickly and you never see them again, it's like so frustrating.
Even last night, like Kevin was playing, and at one point we thought like he had run into someone that was like playing on PC with cheats and mods and stuff, because some of the things that they were doing just seemed really spot on and kind of had like some wacky interactions. When you are playing next to someone and you get to see them do something amazing that you didn't know the effort that it took to do that online, but because they got to do that next to you, that is also something that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I would say that specifically about DiGiorno's anti-air DPs. Like, if I was playing DiGiorno online and I had no idea who he was, I'm like, okay, this guy's using a script. His DPs are too good.
Too good.
His crosscuts are perfect every time. But then you play him in the local, it's like, okay, not only is he doing it right in front of me, I can hear his stick wiggling. Yeah, he's actually doing it.
Yeah. Damn, I got hit with that DP in 30 frames or less. Might sound harsh, but I'm sorry. And that's why I think these communities need to expand from just doing the same old tournaments we all know. Making friends, building the community, and creating different competitive and fun events that motivates people to come out rather than grinding online. Maybe things like a Ranbat. There you go. Something to look forward to.
I was thinking about doing more like team type tournaments.
A part of my study of this Street Fighter League is I want to do that. I find it so interesting. Everything that is missing from the competitive scene right now, in the Capcom Cup and even these majors, you are getting. If you want to hear your favorite pros talk about coach their friends, that is so cool to be able to see and hear and to dissect. And go watch Street Fighter League. You're messing up, and some of your friends are messing up. Go watch Street Fighter League. It's amazing. And right now, Europe is live. Every day I'm catching Street Fighter League information. I'm done.
Yeah, years ago we did a team battle. I'm trying to remember. It was like Rhode Island versus Lawrence. And we did it at Platinum City Gaming. This is back in the old Platinum City.
Oh, wow.
And it was like a 5v5. And it was so hype. Like, everyone was screaming. Like, it was so
Because then you're possessive of something,
Not only that, but like the people who are on your team or the people that were your competition at your weeklies every week. It's like, now we can put our differences aside. Like, okay, let me sick, D-Man bats on them.
Yeah.
Go get them.
100%. Yes, team tourneys would be sick. I would go out for that all day. Street Fighter League is
top tier.
Top tier. Yeah, definitely watch that. Watching Boose's journey in Street Fighter League America is insane. And like, forget the drama even between like Punk and Noah. Street Fighter League Europe right now. But these players all became strong to do things at Street Fighter League like they're doing right now, thanks to their locals. So this was something that I believe I sent over. And the sentiment is the same. Thanks to Golden Lever, Amazing Arcade Stick, and thanks to Justo for driving. IDOM NYC, thank you. Who told me that what leveled him up the most for qualifying for Capcom Cup was going to his local. Instead of giving in to tiredness today, I went to my local. It can be tough. This time of year especially. You don't want to leave your house. It's dark at 4.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is like when you get home from work, right? This is what I assume is what it is for most players, right? Like, your local is most likely at night on a weekday. Maybe it's a Friday night, or in our case it's Monday night. But it's like you got home from work, you have to eat and shower and get ready to go, right? And it's it's already dark this time of year. So
Yeah.
it's so easy to stay home and just play ranked or not play the game at all, right?
Yeah.
Just watch movies.
Eat too much, take a nap, and call it a night. Yeah, man. But I mean, it goes to show you that's the point I was bringing up. That's what helped make IDOM and get more prepared for Capcom Cup, and obviously that helped Alex Smith because when you're going to your local, and maybe it hasn't been a while, and all of a sudden you show up, you go, well, who the hell's this? Oh, they're pretty gnarly. They're kicking ass and stuff like that, and all the new people, and especially Alex Smith showing up. If you could have never met him and be like, oh, Alex Smith, what's up? And that'd be a good time, right?
Right, or if you don't know who Alex Smith is and he beats you in bracket badly, and you're like, what the hell just happened?
Who the hell is this? And then, I've seen him compete on the Capcom Pro Tour online tournaments and stuff before. I got to meet him in person a few times.
Yeah.
So there you go. So another way to point at the importance of going to your local. Where are we at for time right now?
I think we're pretty good. We're a little over an hour.
Yeah, pretty good.
One thing I kind of want to bring up as a discussion point, we mentioned this earlier, and it's about going to your locals, is that typically what I see is, people who played Street Fighter V or Street Fighter 4 coming out to the locals, back for Street Fighter 6. There are some players who are new to Street Fighter 6, but I would say, at least from what I'm seeing, they're not the majority. Like, at least, and this could just be a difference in the games, but from my experience with Street Fighter V, it was like either 50-50 Street Fighter 4 players and Street Fighter V players, or it was majority Street Fighter V players. And I don't think that's the case with Street Fighter 6, where I feel like it's, a small number of players that have been shown up since Street Fighter 4, and that's just because the game came out so long ago. But I would say the majority of players who are coming out for Street Fighter 6 are Street Fighter 5 players who showed up for Street Fighter 5 and just didn't stop showing up. And I think that the number of Street Fighter 6 players, right, like the newer players, is not as great.
Why do you think that is, though?
So
because this game sold incredibly by comparison to that game, right?
Right. I think it's ironic to call this an issue, but I think part of the issue is Street Fighter 6 has much better online. Street Fighter 5 had terrible online. So if you were a Street Fighter 5 player, you had to go to your local. And so now if you're a Street Fighter 6 player and the online's great, which it is, then you don't need to go to your local. Like, I think a lot of people in Street Fighter 5 seeked out their local out of necessity, out of frustration that the online was so bad. But now with Street Fighter 6, the online's so good, you're not doing it out of necessity. You would do it, either because you already know the local's there or because you're being invited by friends who are also going to the local and you want to show up. But I don't think people are playing Street Fighter 6 online and having such a bad experience that they're looking for an offline local.
Okay, so that's an interesting point, and I would say this to it also. There's a few times where people who have shown up for the first time for a Button Club Street Fighter 6 bracket, they'll have their first fighting game will have been Guilty Gear, because I think Guilty Gear came out in a awesome time.
Right. It was like halfway through the lifespan of Street Fighter 5, right, or towards the end.
Yeah, it was
2020.
It was supposed to come out 2020, but it didn't come out until 2021.
Yeah.
So yeah, Street Fighter 5 is 2016. So yeah, you're already 5 years into it, more than halfway. And we were, and because the scenes were dying, the online was bad when that game came out, and the fact that it had such good online and it sold great. I remember, I think the first year when they showed the numbers, we were like, wow, this is a very successful game for them. Right. The style too was engaging for people to want to get into, and I think the combat is so zany that they were like, yeah, let me get into it. So they would play it for a little bit, maybe sparingly, maybe not all the season, then go, oh, Street Fighter 6, well, that's like the next biggest game, let me dip into that for a little bit too. But I think there is like a point for Guilty Gear Strive to have brought in a lot of new players that went into 6, in my opinion, I think.
Right.
What does it say? I have someone who is new to fighters that is good, lives in Florida, refuses to go to locals because, not so desirable people will show up there. And that is true. That is true.
Yeah, there are some, FGC locals where the people who are there are not people you want to be around. Mm-hmm. At least in my experience in New England, if and when there ever is a person at a local that the majority of people would wish they'd never showed up, it's very rare. It's like, you have one person out of like 20 people, and they're not showing up every single week. And a lot of times those people kind of phase themselves out because like they're not making friends as easily because like they're treating the people around them poorly, right?
Yep, that's true. Yeah, I mean, you've seen it. If you are from Button Club and you're watching this at home, then you've seen what it's like in there, and you've seen just how sometimes that room just lights up when people walk through the door or this and that, and it's just such a different feel and vibe to show up there every week. Then they're never, even new people don't feel like strangers at Button Club. I'll say that because right away they're already getting introduced. It's either they're talking to either me, Alicia, Jared, and then someone else of the top players and people who communicate well.
Yeah, and that's one thing I kind of struggle with too. Like if there's a new player that comes to Button Club, what happens most of the time, because the skill level is so high at Button Club, is they come and they enter bracket and they get beat up. And so I feel like there's two kind of people in this world, right? They get beat up and they get motivated to practice and train and they want to come back and they're hungry, or they get beat up and say, not for me. I want to win without putting in the work, right? You know what I mean? Like if they had gotten second place, they would have came back. Because they got 0-2, they're not coming back.
Yeah. And I think it's tougher. I wonder how tough it is for like some of the teenagers that came by.
Yeah. There was that one.
His dad.
Yeah. I forget the names, but it was a younger player. He looked like maybe a teenager. And he was playing Cammy.
Yeah.
And I remember he was talking about how he was master rank. I think he said he hit master rank with all the characters.
Oh wow.
And he was relatively strong player, but unfortunately the skill at Button Club is extremely high. I forget how far he went. He either went like 1-2 or 2-2.
He went 0-2. 0-2. Yeah, he was pretty disappointed at the end of the night.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have guessed, like from watching him play casuals, I would have said, oh yeah, he could have gone anywhere from like 0-2 to 2-2, right? Like just from watching. And because there's so many master rank players that you can just get 2 tough matches and go 0-2.
I think
even though you're pretty good. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like playing online and playing offline and bracket, like every setting is different, right? Like I get a different kind of nervous when I enter the battle hub. I get a different kind of nervous when I go to play ranked. I even get a different kind of nervous when I'm joining up with friends to play in the battle lounge.
Yeah.
Like sitting down at your local to play casuals, different kind of nerves. Sitting down to do a tournament match, sitting down for grand finals at your local, right? Like, all these things are different. And then, like, if you ever go to an offline major, right? Like, playing casuals there feels different. Playing in bracket there feels different. Playing on stream at a major is, like, totally different. Yeah. I remember my first few times playing on stream at majors being so nervous and playing so bad just because it was so different.
Yeah. It just hits you. You're like, why? Why am I this nervous? It's the same game, the same match I've always played, but man, has this setting changed everything, The excitement, the energy of all those people in the room and the noises.
Yeah, I remember talking to Temper about that because, like, Temper's a really, really strong player, but he had never gone to a major before. And, like, I kind of warned him ahead of time, like, you're going to feel like you're playing a different game. I don't know if it's the lighting or because there's 100 people behind you and you're not used to having 100 people behind you, but playing, like, pools at a major, it just feels off. And he agreed, like, after he because he made it out of his pool, I made it out of my pool, and then like we went and like got food and like talked about it, and he's like, you were so right, like I felt so weird.
Yeah. And you have to be used to that too. And I think you can enjoy fighting games and not have to like put yourself through that. And when you're losing to your friends, hopefully if you have a certain mindset, when you're losing to your friends at your weekly, it is a bit of a different story. You know how hard your friends have worked to get there because you've trained with them, you hear them talk about it or whatever. So
right, or you hear stories about how like they've been competing for the past 5 or 6 years, and you've only been competing for 1 or 2 years, so you kind of gauge your expectations of like, oh, they've been working harder than me for longer than me. So if I have a close set and they beat me, that should count as a win.
Yeah. Even like Will lately, Aeto, he's been trying to play more Guilty Gear, and Aeto is a very talented player.
Yep.
Mortal Kombat, Injustice, Tekken. This guy knows his stuff. He's like a lab monster. But getting into Guilty Gear, he's like, what is this game? I don't know what's going on. This is crazy. And he's getting into it season 4, so that's like another thing that I've always said is it's so important to establish those relationships with those games when they do come out and those communities.
Yeah, that was actually something that happened to me where like I didn't even buy Street Fighter 4 until like the arcade edition 2012 came out. And so I was like kind of starting then, but like I really was like low level and like didn't go to any locals. It wasn't until like the end of Street Fighter 4, after Street Fighter 5 was already announced, and I think it wasn't even until after we had like a release date that I was like, okay, now I can justify going, like putting time in, because I'm just preparing for Street Fighter 5. Because at the end of Street Fighter 4, I kind of felt like I'd missed the boat. I felt like it was too late, which isn't true, but that's how I felt. And I'm sure a lot of other people, you know, might have wanted to started to go to their locals in Street Fighter 5 in like 2022, like when the pandemic was more or less over, and just felt like they missed the boat, that everyone there was going to have been playing for 6 years and they were going to get beat up. Right. So they kind of waited for Street Fighter 6. And so my advice to those people would be, don't wait for the next game, go today, right? Like,
just start, make those connections now, because that's just how you get going.
Yeah, like if you want to get into Street Fighter now, it's like, well, get Street Fighter 6 now, start learning the game now, go to a local as soon as you can. Don't wait 5 years or whatever, how many years until Street Fighter 7 comes out.
You gain so many good habits by being around your community, and on top of that, because Inhuman puts a good thing here. Fighters, you are most likely alone. So when you're playing online and you're trying to watch your own replays and you're struggling, that's the best time to reach out to a friend, a community member, and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this. What do I do here? And it takes a quick Discord message or write in person while you've thought of it. And anyone who's worth their grit at a local is gonna put some time to teach you at least something. When you're asking questions and you're just getting into it. I wonder if 2XKO will change the locals for the better. So that's a loaded question.
Yeah, I think 2XKO is going to be really interesting. I'm really curious if one player versus one player is going to be tournament standard, or if it's going to be 2 players versus 2 players as like teams. Kind of the way Smash does singles and doubles. Is 2XKO going to have singles and doubles, or just choose one or the other?
Yeah,
because I think it'd be more exciting and more interesting if it was the team battles. 2 players versus 2 players.
Yeah, that would be a different dynamic to throw into the FGC that could really change things. Just imagine. Did you ever watch wrestling growing up?
A little bit when I was a kid, but I stopped by the time I was like 12.
Yeah. So like, a good tag team rolls out. They got their gimmick. You love that. And I would love to see that with some really strong FGC personalities to do that, or to be like, like kind of like Street Fighter League. Oh, after so-and-so lost last year, like they're not on the team anymore. They're not there. So-and-so's not back. That'd be really cool to see that dynamic. And then the other level of it would be the community that is coming in that's just from League.
Yep.
This being their first time in a fighting game and a fighting game local in this situation, and what does that do to the ecosystem of the local? Does that bring in more toxic players, or does that do the old heads become more toxic? Because like, who are these League of Legends guys coming in?
Right. Or does the stream all of a sudden have 1,000 viewers?
Yeah, and Matcherino, prize pool, and stuff like that. That could all be really, really huge. Street Fighter Cross Tekken still has some of the greatest tourney play. 2v2 was so fun to watch. Beefcake says, I think 2XK will bring in both the casual players and the hardcore players at the same time. I agree. So it will be interesting to see them both interact. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me, like, if you do have casual players coming in for 2XKO, like, they're going to get beat up, right? Like, that's just the truth. And so then the question is, like, what can we really offer them that's going to make them want to come back week after week, essentially knowing they're going to get beat up? Like, and if they have a casual mindset, because in my mind, there's a difference between like a beginner who's hungry and a player with a casual mindset. Like, if you have a casual mindset, you're not grinding to get better. And so it's like, well, if we want that player to keep showing up every week, like, what kind of entertainment or value can we offer to them beyond, right? Like, because the competitive player, like, we don't have to offer them anything. Like, the players who are there, the competition is what they're there for.
They're
right?
hungry for the W.
Yeah, exactly. They're there for the dub. And so, what are the casual players leaving their house for? That's the question I want to answer.
Well, even recently at Button Club, we had, I forget his name, but they were bringing like snacks every week for a couple of weeks and treats. They brought a cake. Even this week, Mike V brought cupcakes and brownies from work, and it just becomes like it's a whole new hub within Button Club to, oh yeah, did you try that one? Yeah, and you hang around there, you enjoy it, talk about where this come from, Mike V, oh my god, and there's just so many little social aspects to being there. It's so amazing. That's what it offers to the casuals. It'll give you a night out around some fellow gamers.
Yep.
Look at like Neffy and his girlfriend Sammy. She dabbles into fighting games. But she's there to help. She supports her fiance and stuff like that, and she's entertaining. I remember Dragon Ball Fighter Z had the FGC locals in a hold for a while. Yeah, man. Look where that game's gone. Cool pins. What's that? Oh, you talking about? Is that for the DiGiorno thing?
That would be a cool pin.
Like an enamel pin. You know how much that would cost? Oh my god. I want to do that for Button Club stuff too. Enamel pins, and I want to print on a button.
Yeah, I would say depending on what level of detail you're looking for, I can 3D print some stuff.
Yeah.
I'm imagining the Button Club logo. I could probably 3D print that on a button.
Oh, cool. But and it would be like flat too, like flush.
It can be, yeah. Cool. So the way it works with 3D printing is for every layer that has multiple colors, it has to do a color change. So if you can do like one raised above the other, then you do less color swaps, and every time you do a color swap, it has to like purge the material.
Okay.
But yeah, like if you wanted to do a button that was the Button Club logo on top, and so it's just two colors, so we'd have to do probably a couple of color swaps, but it wouldn't be so bad because it's really small anyways.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so interesting.
But what I was saying is, like, if you were going to build, like, a tall tower, like something as big as, like, a soda bottle, and every single layer had, like, 2 or 3 different colors, now you're just burning through material.
Because, like you said, you have to flush it out every time,
yeah,
right?
So you flush roughly a gram of material for every color swap. But there's a color swap every layer. So if you're doing 3 color swaps per layer for 300 layers, that's 600 grams of material you just threw away.
Holy shit. And is that the ones that look like iridescent kind of, or is that just part of that color filament, or is that like a color changing part of it?
So when I say color changes, it's not like mixing the colors, it's just how many different colors on the horizontal layer.
Okay.
Yeah, but they do have like shiny colors where depending on how you put the lighting, it looks a little bit blue or it looks a little bit like green. Those are really, really cool.
That's cool. All right, is there anything else you want to talk about tonight for this episode?
I think we covered it, and the important thing is go to your local, please.
Go to your locals.
Go to Button Club. Go to One Up Games.
Yes.
Go to Balance Patch.
Yep. And
go to NLBC.
Yep. And what's the one on Mondays that's with us too? Not One Up's Tuesdays, right?
One Up's on Tuesdays.
What's the other one?
There's another
Game
one?
Underground. Game Underground.
Oh, GU, yeah.
GU.
GU on Mondays. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. If you're not following Button Club on social media, you're messing up. Follow us here. Follow us on Start GG, and that's also a way that you could find TC Traveling Controller, so you can find some other tournaments next to you.
Yeah, and then also event hubs. They have like a local FGC search, right? We've showed that before. And it's essentially, I think you open it, it's like an Excel spreadsheet, and it's like multiple countries, multiple cities, multiple states, like anywhere you're at, there's a local.
Yeah, I think Event Hub shared it, but is that Ultra David's thing, right?
Yeah, I think Ultra David collected the data and compiled it, and then I think Event Hubs did a post talking about it and had the link to it. But either way, find Ultra David on Twitter, go to Event Hubs, find this spreadsheet, look for your state or your city or whatever, find your local, go to them, say what's up, press some buttons.
Yeah, make some friends. That's how we got found by people too, through Start GG and all that. Twitter. You can say what you want about Twitter, but the fighting game community lives on Twitter. So,
yeah, I live on Twitter.
So get yourself one of those if you're so inclined. But that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of the Safe Sets podcast. We hope you have enjoyed. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe for more content, as we are now climbing our way to 2,600 subscribers. And comment down below what you thought of tonight's episode and what your favorite part of tonight was. DiGiorno, have a good night. Thank you, my homie. We will catch you guys next Friday on another episode of the... Oh, no, will we? Because it's...
So next Thursday's Thanksgiving, so next Friday is Black Friday.
Oh.
So we can talk about it.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
doing anything, but
Maybe. How many likes this episode gets will determine whether or not we come back next week.
the Black Friday special.
Yeah, exactly, for an episode. And then catch our FGC streams every Monday at 6 o'clock. Catch you guys on the next episode of the Safe Sets podcast. Keep pressing the buttons and
stay safe.